Now, the NFL is going to try to play through it. Major League Baseball is going to try to play through it. The NBA, I don't know. Did you see them putting down the courts down there in Disney for the NBA yesterday?
No, I did not.
I'm like, they're playing in a ballroom, dude.
Really?
They are playing in a ballroom. Not a basketball arena, a ballroom. What I don't understand.
Wait, I thought they had a ton of courts. Maybe we talk about that? They had like 1 million courts down there.
They're laying the courts out like they're putting the courts together like in ballrooms, like over the carpet. It's bizarre. I don't know how the NHL can play in Edmonton and play in Toronto in big facilities, yet the NBA is down playing in a ballroom at Disney.
Yeah, they're screwing this thing up big time. They really are. I mean, for all this time that we talked about how the NBA seemed to be ahead of it and it looked like they had a great plan and the players seemed to be on board and they're going to go to the bubble, and then even with the cases spiking in Florida, the bubble was a different thing because it was a bubble and you can't penetrate the bubble, and the bubble this, the bubble that. They're going to finish the season. No, this looks awful. I mean, and I'm going to look for that video right now. That on top of what they're eating there, and then the expectations from the players to just be in their hotel rooms for weeks upon weeks. I mean, this thing just, it sounds like, not to be negative, just calling it the way it is.
Yeah, well,
it sounds like it's doomed. It just looks and sounds. Baseball feels like it's in a better place right now, which I never thought that I'd say, but it really does. I mean, I turn on the TV, I see baseball players out there doing stuff. There's actual baseball stories that have been going on. Has there been a basketball story that's gone on outside of Jamal Crawford being signed by the Nets because every one of them has contracted coronavirus?
Well, these other sports are playing in their normal stadiums. You know, that's the thing. I mean, watching the Yankees in Yankee Stadium or the Mets in Citi Field, that there's a sense of normalcy, even though there's no fans there, and you know they're just going through workouts. And next week we'll finally get a few preseason games. But when you take a look what the NBA is trying to do, I don't know. I think they have like 3 courts in one. In one, I don't know if they put them all in one ballroom or not.
Well, I'm seeing 2 right next to one another, and it's funny because it's like they have the home courts of the Heat and the Pacers that have been laid down in this ballroom that look like it was most recently used for a dentist convention. I mean, this is pathetic. This is pathetic.
So
I thought that they had, when we were talking about this in the wide world of sports, it was like they had all these, even though it was small places that didn't have a lot of fans, but it was courts upon courts, and they had high school tournaments and all sorts of stuff and camps, and it was, even though it wasn't going to be like a big NBA arena, it was going to be doable. I didn't know you were going to Conference Room E to see the Pacers take on the Heat. I mean, that's just insanity.
And are teams playing games simultaneously right next to each other?
That can't happen. I'm sorry, that can't happen.
Because they're inside a ballroom.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a stadium. It's not a big, ginormous stadium where there's a little bit more airflow and things of that nature. This is a ballroom. How high would you say that the ceiling in that ballroom is?
I'm telling you, Kristaps Porzingis might be scraping his head on the ceiling of this thing. I mean, it is this, and I'm looking at the picture. I'm zooming in. There's guys that are going to lay another court next to these other 2.
Right.
There's like a table with croissants on it. I mean, this can't be real. If this is real, we're not getting. This is not one of these Photoshop things.
No,
we're not
that's
getting
real.
Duped by
that
this.
is 100. I saw them putting it together yesterday. Yes.
Oh, come on.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's not bizarre. It's pathetic. Like, this is one of those things that if I were Adam Silver or I were a player and I showed up there and I got a fruit cup, a bag of pita chips, and then was taken to the court that was being assembled in a conference room, I would say, all right, shut it down. Enough of this. This is pathetic. It looked good on paper. We have completely screwed it up. Shut this thing down. I'm going home. We'll see you next year. That's what I would do.
I understand the whole bubble thing, but what I don't understand is why, like, the NHL can go to now. And again, this is what they're planning on doing. Edmonton and Toronto. It's announced. It's official. The whole thing. You know, the teams have not gotten there yet. The teams haven't even really totally come together yet as an entire organization at their own training facilities. They're still they're skating, but they're very small groups that they're skating with. I think on Monday that will all open up normally, so now teams can go out on the ice and start practicing with one another, much like baseball is. But I will say, like, the PGA looks normal, NASCAR looks normal, baseball looks normal, hockey will look normal, soccer looks normal, because they're playing in their regular facilities.
Let me ask you a
this
question.
NBA thing looks
Is this
ridiculous.
just for practice? There's got to be something else going on here. Is this just for, like, where the teams go and practice? Because that would maybe make a little bit – it's still pathetic, don't get me wrong. But if they're actually trying to play the games in this conference room, that to me is insanity. If they're just practicing there and then the games are in a different place – like, let's say there's a half-court shot at the end of a quarter or a half of the game.
Yeah.
You couldn't get the ball up in the air.
Right.
High enough to even attempt that with where they are.
The last time I was down there at the Wide World of Sports at Disney, they had plenty of grass fields. They had it's where the Atlanta Braves used to have their spring training. Beautiful baseball fields. They had indoor basketball facilities. I would think that they would be playing there, but
it sounds to me this is where they're practicing. Now,
I hope so.
That's what it sounds to me, because I had not seen this yet, and just looking into it, it looks like this is where they practice. This is not where they're playing the games, but it's still, to me, it's a weird visual, man. Seeing this horrible carpeting in a traditionally American conference room being covered by the courts of the Magic, the Pacers, the Heat. I mean, it is a very weird visual, but I don't believe games are playing there.
You'll be able to know whether or not they're playing games or not. Is what's on the court. You have the Heat logo, you have the Pacer logo, and you have one other logo of another team, right?
Yeah, the Magic.
The Magic. Okay. Is there anything else rimming the court, or are those courts just set up
side
normally?
By side. They're just side by side.
All right, so those have got to be the practice sports. They have to.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's not. Yeah, there's just no way. There's no really place for.
There's no logos and no sponsors on those courts, so they have to be practice courts.
Yeah, they couldn't play games in here. Nobody would take them seriously. So that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I guess it's doable. I'd like to see where the games are being played, but I mean, it's just another sign that this is just crazy to try to pull off. And if they pull it off, good for them. But it just seems more and more difficult by the day. But and then they're like touting it, like it's funny. Like even the NBA, one of the NBA's accounts was like, "Hey, yeah, it's NBA's official account, ready for practice. The NBA restart begins July 30th with daily and nightly games." And it's like they're showing you this as if they are flexing and they're proud of it. Like, oh man. Like, look, we're ready for practice in conference room D down the hall. Make a left at the water fountain. Come on.
I was just trying to think, like, if they would have went to another city and you had multiple arenas, obviously college arenas, the pro arena, you could move teams around to different arenas. I guess that would also probably be problematic when it came to logistics and putting it all together. And I think it seems to me like if those are the practice courts, it'll be a little bit easier getting teams in and out of there, just going to practice. And the question is, are multiple teams going to be practicing together, like, on separate courts? I can't imagine that. I would imagine a team gets to practice on one of those courts, they clean the court, the next team comes in, goes to another court, they clean that court, and then so on and so forth as they try to keep everybody as healthy as they possibly can.